Spring TV brings to you Off the Bench with Talu. Talu is how we're beginning today's show, and I have to say this is nothing to do with polo or football. In actual sense, this is referring to the Zambian strongmen who are in the US right about now competing. Also, if you're interested in the video assistant referee, that's a conversation we're going to have in the show later today. Other than that, a sad situation with cricket lovers who happen to be facing a sad racism situation. Something absolutely terrible going on in England, and of course, it's a conversation we're definitely having tonight. My name is Tal Mukupa. Good evening, and this is Off the Bench. Good evening once again. It's Off the Bench. My name is Talu. I'm your host, and today's show is amazing. Let me start you off with strongmen, the ones that can carry or pull a train car, the ones that can lift your car, the ones that can lift you, your brother, your friend, your sister, and possibly your grandmother. These are the Zambian competitors taking part in the United States right about now, and they are doing the most. In case you don't know much, you have to keep watching Off the Bench. I'll give you a little tip about what happens with strongmen, but I have to say they're doing an amazing thing. This is your true definition of Zambia. Kuchalo, have a look at the highlights.
That's it, Melvin!
Let's go, Kevin!
DA way!
Each one of these Volkswagen Beetles, 50 foot in the distance to cover. The athletes get
Here we go!
to complete the course. If that front of the entire race,
Easy!
the time in the books.
Push! Finish!
60.
Finish, Melo!
Candido inching towards that finish.
Freeze! You got time! Up!
325 pounds on the log, 4 repetitions to go, Kevin, big rep. 60 seconds to make it happen. Strong.
Take
your time, Kevin. Come on.
Okay, breathe.
Judges ready. Athletes ready. On the whistle. The opening weight, all 3 athletes successful here from 635 pounds. Strongman on lead number 2 with a slight lead on to 675 pounds. Here in lane 3 successful. He's on to 675 as well. Now Strauss as well.
Tom, catch one, yeah!
585, Mwemba and Bradley, neck and neck. Bradley the first one to 675. Choosing not to strap in, over and under, gets to the quarter first.
Come on!
Mwemba good at 675.
There you go, Steve. That's how you do it. That's it.
Good at 7 1/4.
Easy. Easy.
60, Mwemba
That's how you win.
good at 725.
Let's go.
Under 30 seconds left.
I don't even know where to begin. What you were watching are some highlights from the last tournament that was a couple of days ago. What you saw there was one of not even Zambia, Africa's champions. I'm talking about Paul. If you saw the bold-looking guy, he's Africa's champion when it comes to strongman competitions. That's how much we are representing the country. Next to him was Melvin, who happens to be one of the top 5 contenders and competitors across Africa, and they were doing the best. If you see some of the competitions that they took part in, you'd find them at the top top 5, top 10 positions, in some cases top 15, but they're doing a lot. Now, I'm going to say it again. This is exactly what we mean when we say Zambia Kuchalo. These guys are still in the United States, taking part in more competitions, so you have to keep an eye out for Melvin and Paul, and of course Cherry, who is a lady, so beautiful and yet still so strong. Moving on, the situation, a conversation about VAR. Video assistant referee. That's a big conversation. Everybody has their own opinion. From people talking about how it is unnecessary and we do not have the funding or the money or the resources or the finances to maintain such a beautiful, magnificent piece of technology, you know. Others feel like it's about time. The rest of Africa is picking up quickly and well, pacefully, but it's about time that Zambia actually had this piece of technology in our zone, in our reach. So let's take a hear of what you guys actually think from the streets.
Some residents in Lusaka have received the news with mixed feelings, some saying it's a welcome move, while others feel it's too early to be introduced in the country.
Honestly, you find the situation whereby the fans complaining, no, the FIFA wasn't okay, shine, and the like. So I say it's a good step that they have taken to introduce the VR, and yeah, and I think we'll manage as a country. Yeah,
it's not really a good move.
Why?
If you look at the Premier League, everyone is complaining about it. Then we also bring it here. It don't make sense.
Money, they should do it. They should do it. Yeah, I just think it's jumping all the other levels, like to build the capacity of your stadium itself and the quality, and to jumping to VR. I don't know if it's a sensible thing to do.
According to a 2020 report by the Brazilian FA, the cost of the use of the video assistant referee for a season was estimated at 5.6 million United States dollars, which is over 98 million kwacha. Zambia would become the first sub-Saharan African country to use the video assistant referee once implemented in the country. Calvin Kaumbachikenge for S24 Sports.
The thing is, to be honest, it's a good idea because a lot of times when we feel like we've been judged or, you know, the unfair whistles blown and they're not in our favor, VAR does come in handy. In other instances, like with regards to money, are we capable? This conversation is going to be had, so stick around, don't go anywhere. Let's jump into cricket. Ladies and gentlemen, the cricket situation in England and across Europe right now is not too good. A whistleblower, a trailblazer, as some would call him, Azim Rafiq, has come out and talked about the situations, the things that went on when he was playing cricket. He is a former cricket player, and he came out with all that fear, with all that, you know, with threats, all sorts of things, because conversations around racism are not the most straightforward and the easiest to be had, because some people will definitely shut you down. So he came out and he spoke about his experience, and you're going to quickly get into that clip so you have an idea of what really went down.
Pretty early on at the club, I joined a dressing room full of my heroes, Michael Vaughan, Matthew Hoggard, part of the 2005 Ashes team, and it was just the most surreal moment for me. I entered that dressing room. Pretty early on, me and other people from Asian background, there was comments such as, "You lot sit over there near the toilets," elephant washers, the word "paki" was used constantly, and there just seems to be an acceptance in the institution from the leaders, and no one ever stamped it out. As soon as they got my evidence, it felt like they were like, "Wow, we've got a problem here." And suddenly it felt like it went away from the institutional and working with the club, they tried to make it about individuals. And that's why, unfortunately, the last couple of weeks, some individuals have had a really tough time. But I didn't present my evidence like that. It was never intended like that, and that was never the allegation. But that's what the club, the lawyers, and the panel in particular have tried to do. I mean, to make one thing very clear, Paki is not banter. Racism is not banter. As I've seen over the last 15 months, if you speak out, your life's going to be made hell. And there's no doubt my life. I mean, I sat in front of national TV and talked about the dark places this whole episode got me into. And what's happened since then? Denial, briefings, cover-ups, smearing, high-profile media people messaging other members of the media who have supported me, saying stuff like, well, the clubhouse is a live blood of a club, and Asian players don't go in there. Getting subs out of Asian players like getting blood out of stone.
There's more to this case, and inquiries are being made left, right, and center. We have former cricket players like Ebony Rainford Brent, who came out and actually said she received hate mail, a hate letter that actually read, "Get out of our country." That's the situation. On the other side, some people are talking about how alcohol is a major problem for some cricket players to reach the heights they should, and they refer to Asians and black people. I don't even know how to get into it. But first of all, they need to sort out this racism situation. Things have come out. Someone named a dog after one of the Asian players. This, as you heard from Rafiq, happens even in the locker room in front of everyone. And it seemed so normal at the time. The best part about this story, ladies and gentlemen, is that it came out and people are no longer scared or no longer fearful to speak out about what's happening in their area, in their zone that has to do with racism. It's a good move. On that note, I have to take you to our first break. When we get back, we're going to jump into your Off the Bench spotlight. Stay tuned. Back, it's Off the Bench. Now, my name is Tala once again for those that just joined us, and the conversation is around a lot of sports faculties. Today we've talked about cricket and the racism situation so far. We've also spoken about VAR, video assistant referees, and how Zambians are taking it if at all this gets introduced. How will we maintain them? Others are saying it's amazing. Also, we talked about the strongmen that are representing the country in the US who are doing a phenomenal job. Now I'm bringing you to something I love, absolutely love. It's called the Off the Bench Spotlight. This part of the show is where we highlight an athlete, a team, a coach, a runner, a sportsman or woman, and we just want you to know about them and what they do and how it's important. Have a look at this week's Off the Bench Spotlight. Tonight on Off the Bench Spotlight, can you guess the sport? Table tennis, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, this sport requires a lot of accuracy and a whole lot of mathematical angles. But to the NASDAQ Table Tennis Academy, it's nothing but another fun day. With team players who've been at it for close to 11 years, these ping pong ninjas are determined to bring home some medals and trophies. Smashing, isn't it? Hitting you with their best shot, I give you the NASDAQ Table Tennis Academy.
My name is Achole Hamalambo.
Let's run a labo. Janet Mwira.
Okay, start again. You are watching Off the Bench with Talu.
Well, that was table tennis for you. I think these, I call them ping pong ninjas, are doing a phenomenal job. These guys are going to be representing Zambia in some of the Southern African regional games, and I think they're working really, really hard. It's not the easiest game, if you ask me, but we are at that moment and off the bench where we get into the juice, the meat, the sausage, the chicken, the fish. Stop me, please, Cassandra.
I was about to ask the sausage. I was like, wow. We're going to be hungry by the time you're done with the show.
Listen, Linda.
I'm listening.
We're getting into the conversation everybody's been waiting for.
Yeah.
A review and analysis of Tuesday night's game.
Yes.
And basically not just that, but the entire journey that Zambia Chipolo Polo have had in the 6 games they've played to try attempts to qualify for the World Cup.
Yes, well, Talu, first of all, thank you for welcoming me on that very lovely note.
Ladies and gentlemen.
It's certainly a happier tone than what we've been dealing with for the past few days. I actually should thank you for that, because if you didn't lift up our spirits, I think we'd be depressed for the show. But ladies and gentlemen, we made it. We made it to Thursday. Thanks, Zambia. Thank you very much, football team. We're here, but we'll be looking at it. We'll be breaking it down, and we'll be taking in your opinions as well. So if you're watching, watch out. We might actually be taking your calls. So.
Question 1, how did you feel emotionally on Tuesday night?
It was rough. I won't even lie. Ladies and gentlemen, my hands were vibrating on the off button by halftime. I was in no shape, form, or capacity.
Hands were vibrating. I slept.
It was 3-0. 3-0 at halftime. It was hard to swallow. My social media went off. It's like Zesco decided to switch off bundles. Just killed everybody out. So it was a very tough game to watch.
I don't understand why we were so heartbroken, knowing full well that the chances were so slim. So you see people want to come out on social media and on TV interviews and saying, you know what, we are upset with Zambia, we don't care even, we won't even watch the game. But yet people were still so mad when the result came out the way it did.
Exactly, and that's what's interesting about it. I think it shows both the positive and the negative. And the positive is we still have a fan base that believes in the national team. And if you're watching us from home, whether you like it or not, that applies to you too. If you got BP, if you needed a Panado after the game, that means we have a healthy fan base, Talu.
Yes, we do.
Have a good community here in the country that loves football. We just need to add the results and the accolades to prove it.
All right, so listen, let's now break this down. Let's analyze our journey as Zambia's Chipolo Polo from game 1. When we had just switched, because there's a lot at play here. People want to blame whoever they want to blame, but there's a lot at play here. We had just gotten a new coach. Let's start from there.
And this is one of the big talking points that I think we need to start to look at this from a more holistic perspective. It's not fair to take the snapshot of the 6 games we played and make a fair assessment of where the current national team is at. In all honesty, we've been having a lot of issues internally and organizationally for the last 4 years. In fact, in the last 3 years, I think we've had 4 coaches in the last 3 years. So we've had this rotational system of changing tactics, changing personnel. And the last blow was when we lost Michu. We didn't just lose a coach, Talu. We lost his entire technical team. So a lot of resource was bled out, and we only managed to get Beston Chambeshi in late July. August, he had to name a team. Bang, he's in full game. So the honest, true picture about this is the team just did not have enough time to adjust to the new circumstances that they were presented.
There was that situation.
In all fairness,
there was a situation of COVID-19 and some players, our international foreign-based players, not managing to come back home and be a part of the team, at least some of them. Do you think that also played a role?
In fact, that actually exacerbated the situation. It became a whole lot more complicated because you now had a new coach who can make a team for one game that will work, but doesn't have the same options for the second team because of all the COVID restrictions. Our international players aren't allowed to play. And you have to understand, this is not just about leaning on international players, especially because our coach is Beston Chambeshi. This is a man who's played with these players for a long time. And yes, I've heard accusations amongst fans talking about favoritism. We'll probably get into that.
We are definitely getting
into that a bit later on.
Today's the day.
Yeah, today gloves are off. But in all reality, if the coach is about to make his team, he needs to know that the players that he's naming for his full-man squad are available consistently. And unfortunately, for the first 4 games, that just wasn't possible. We did not have access to the full spectrum of the players that were named for the full team. And honestly speaking, the results showed for themselves. Some games you have a good performance, and some games it's shaky. I put that down to the irregularity of the formation of the team, and a lot of teams suffered. But you can also argue that every other team had those same problems and those same challenges. So why were we unfortunate? I guess we'll probably break that down as we go.
We definitely need to, because I'm asking myself, do we not have a team just because our foreign-based players are not there? Are we not training enough people? We have great guys in our local leagues that are doing phenomenal work.
Yeah.
Why are we not making use of them? This is where now favoritism comes in. People are talking about how, you know what, Lesson Chambeji had a team in mind that he worked with, that it worked, and it got him that trophy.
Yeah.
Do you think he was going that direction, considering he was given that role quite late
in his career?
In his career.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past him, but bear in mind, Beston Chambeshi has been named as the head coach after he won his title. He was given the top job, and then he got fired. I will say this: there is a lot of politics and a lot of little bits and pieces that are happening in and about the scenes. It becomes a very high-pressure job, even for a country like Zambia to have that top seat. Talo, I tell you, the pressure that sits on that seat. So I wouldn't put it past the coaching staff to say, look, the last time we played, this worked. This is the system. Let's stick to that. I would not put it past them to have made those kinds of decisions. But unfortunately, it just didn't pay off. It really just didn't pay off at the end of the day.
So then what's the next move? Because everybody else, if they're not blaming the coach, they're blaming FA's president, Andrew Kamanga. And this one was seen even in the stadium the last Mauritania game.
Yeah.
We saw that. So it has not gone down.
Yes, please.
The noise is still very much there.
Kamanga actually was booed at the stadium. It was quite an interesting one to see. And well, we're going to break this down, and FAS has to answer a lot of questions. To be fair, it's gotten to a point where football is global, right? And because football is global, everybody has an opinion. Everybody knows what football is supposed to look like. They know what they should feel like. You know, they know what they should be enjoying.
And I have to just stop you right there. I need you to continue that statement. But first, if you're watching Off the Bench today, based off what Cassandra has said, seeing that everybody has an opinion, and everybody seems to know a better strategy. Today we're giving you a chance to call in and give us your starting 11, the team you thought should have started in Tunisia on Tuesday night that could have possibly brought home that win. How could you have changed the game plan in the first half to make it not suck the way it did? So the number to call is 09614150228. We will give you a chance to give us your version, your opinion, your analysis, your way of doing things. Because I mean, you're the fans, you're the ones who know the game.
That's right.
But Cassandra, please pick it up where you left off.
And in a world with that much access to information, and I'm sure a lot of the fans are going to call in and show us how much football knowledge they have, accountability has to be put on the table for discussion. I know a lot of these discussions have been burning in social media, but it's time for them to come to the front lines because it's starting to affect the actual performance of the team. Someone needs to take responsibility for the fault. Regardless of whether there was good intentions, someone has to be responsible. Regardless of whether people tried their best, Talu, someone has to answer for the results. And it's about that time in the world of football where we need heightened levels of accountability. So we need to pinpoint where the issues are.
Which brings me to the conversation today. Who are we pointing fingers at?
You know what, Talu? I know you have got a few little special surprises reserved for the players. So I'm going to hold that answer for now. But I will give you a hint. I will tell you that there is more than one set of individuals to blame for the way Zambia absolutely capitulated against Tunisia.
Okay, listen, the situation is what is. I like the fact that when we started this conversation, you mentioned fans, even though they have their emotions, most of the time angry, they do love the game.
They do love the game, Charlie. You cannot take that away from Zambians. I have seen Zambians vow with absolute animosity, I am never going to watch Zambia again. Qualifier. Zambia regalia, scarves, jerseys, yeah. You can't beat it. We are just a football-loving nation, and it's just never going to change. What we need to do is put our energies together and start winning. Because for a team, for a country that has this much talent, it's a crime that the only thing we have to show for all the talent we have in this country is one Africa Cup.
Aye, it's not
Absolutely
the best.
criminal.
It's not the best news ever. But let's talk about game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4, game 5. I think we've talked a lot about game 5 and game 6, the last 2 games, Mauritania and Tunisia. But how did the last 2 games anyway? But how did we start off? Were we consistent? What was missing? Because the journey started off well. First game we won. We won, and Beston just come in, and for me that was like, we're done. It's a done deal.
We finally cracked the code. Yeah,
First
exactly.
game gone. That means next and next we're top of the table. We're taking this home.
Exactly.
Then we just lost it.
Yeah, and this is where the consistency issue comes in. So in Mauritania, what happened was our first game we actually had access to a very key player who we haven't, I think, had much access to the rest of the qualifiers, which was Enoch Mwepu, who somehow was injured for the other games that we played. I think we only had him once. And he brought a lot of balance and stability to the midfield. And for me, issue 1, the biggest area of suspect is the midfield area. We didn't have enough commanding presence as a football team. Now, you could put that on the quality of the players we have, but you could also put that on the arrangement of the team, because the the technical bench was aware of the strength that we have in the midfield area. That's something that we could have looked at. At the same time, we can look at this from a holistic perspective. We have an entire Zambian Super League with dominant midfielders who are constantly playing at the highest level, and a lot of call-ups are being skipped constantly. And we need to start asking questions as to why that is. Very, very, very big questions that need to be answered.
Those were some of the questions that we got from our viewers. Some of the fans, in fact. Why wasn't this person played? Why are they playing this one? This combination is not working. And that's what we want to get into tonight. We're giving you the chance. We'll definitely do our own analysis of some sort. But we're giving you, the viewers, a chance to show us what could have been done better. Because that's what this is about. So if you allow me, we'll take a quick break so that we bring you the board.
Yes, please. I am excited and I can't wait. Let's have the board.
Let's have the board. We'll see you later.
We are Real Sports Academy, and you are watching on the bench with Talu.
Hi, this is Chongo Chona, aka Pezuzu, aka Steezy from Material Magic. You're watching Off the Bench with Talu.
Welcome back. Now, like we promised, the whiteboard is in the building. That means you get a chance to tell us how best this team could have been put together with regards to the Qatar 2022 qualifier matches. Now, Cassandra is over there doing his thing with the whiteboard. So let's take it away.
Thank you, Talu. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this lovely special we like to call the whiteboard section.
The whiteboard!
Where we're taking off the gloves and we're breaking it down for you. For those of you that are not as avid followers of the football, we'll be making things easier for you. So right now we're breaking down what went wrong with the Zambia game. So first off, starting here, we're going to have Zambia over here. And Zambia played a 4-5-1 or a 4-2-3-1. Tunisia played a 4-3-3, which basically means 4 defenders at the back for Zambia, and we had 5 midfielders. Now, we're going to break down what that meant. And so most of Zambia's defenders were here, and here's problem 1, Tal. Remember I promised you we're going to get into part of the problem.
Yes.
So we've got our goalkeeper in the sticks, and we've got our 4 defenders dotted out around here. I don't know, maybe I should make bigger circles for the people at home to see.
Yes, please, bigger circles for the people at home.
So we've got our 4 defenders arranged in a flat line to sort of keep the shape of the team. Now here's problem number 1. A lot of the players that were mentioned in this back line of defense for Zambia lacked a lot of international experience. They were not that confident on the ball, and that is actually where the capitulation started. That is where our big problem started to come in, because with Tunisia's 4-3-3, their front 3 guys came and blocked the lanes here. We had one guy here, one guy here, one guy here. And their 3 midfielders sort of tightened up the spots here, here, and here. So they gave us a high press. And what this did was it exposed 2 issues for Zambia. And the first issue I've already mentioned is the inexperience. What happened was they are afraid to make lateral passes. So there were no passing lines in between the defenders. And that's why if you watch the game, the first half looked extremely shaky. Nobody could get the passes out of the defensive area. It was terrible. It was panicky. It was absolutely terrible. And as a result, problem 2, the tactic collapsed. So what we saw now is we have three attacking midfielders here, with obviously your Patsondaka here, and you've got your two holding midfielders. What ended up happening is our holding midfielders, now to release this pressure because they are stuck and they can't make a clear passing line, had to drop back. So these guys had to drop all the way back, and we're playing just behind these guys to try and open up the gaps. And this gentleman over here dropped all the way down here. Now, because no one understood fully or was accustomed to the technique of that formation, we had a huge problem. When we saw this exact same pattern happen all throughout the game, what Zambia had to do then to relieve the pressure was our wide men were forced to kick the ball out. But as you've noticed, our midfielders are missing.
So who's going to receive the ball?
That leaves three men, and they have a back four. So we've got 4 players from Tunisia manning 3 players, and their rotating midfielders are managing the middle of the park.
Wow.
Now, Tunisia didn't outclass Zambia based on personnel. They outclassed us based on tactic and trainability.
All about the strategy.
It's all about the strategy. And strategy tells you there's something in the technical bench that we need to analyze. Now, if you look at the first goal, I'm not sure if you guys can see the first goal. What I need you to take a look at, ladies and gentlemen, is count the number of boxes. Now, of course, the first goal was conceded from a set piece, but count the number of Zambia shirts in the 18 area. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bodies, but look at who they are marking. Absolutely no one. No one's picking up anyone. So Tunisia's attackers are free in the 18 area of Zambia in the set piece. And what does this tell me? Our set pieces are not practiced enough. Now, granted, you've only had a new technical team that's only been there for 6 games, basically. It's been barely 6 weeks itself. It's been almost like 2-3 weeks. They haven't had enough time to refine this, but still, this is a glaring issue. When we move over to the second goal, if we pull that up on your screens, if you can see that, you see more of the same issue. Here's the second goal. The breakdown that I was telling you, you can see the 3 attackers of Tunisia pushing and pressing, and the Zambians holding a position but unable to maintain it. If you look across there, you can see 5 white shirts straight line.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders, but no one knows what they're supposed to be doing. We've got 2 people on the far end marking absolute air.
Two people.
And the irony is the guy on his own is the guy that ended up scoring the goal. So that's where the gap is. Now you can see just after our defenders are midfielders who are trying to drop deep to sort of relieve the pressure from the defenders, but our defenders can't play the ball out, and that's where our problem is. So we had an inexperienced back line that couldn't clear their lines, that couldn't get the ball out to forward areas. And when they did clear the ball, there was no midfielders to pick it up because our midfielders had dropped out of the shakiness of the defense.
This is extremely frustrating.
It's absolutely frustrating, Talu. I don't even want to go to the third goal, but we have to do it.
Third goal.
If we look at the
Give us the third goal.
It was almost the same situation. He came in from the left wing of Zambia. Look at the people in the box. Again, that back line, 5 defenders in the box. No one picking up a single runner. He shot from that exact position and scored the third goal. We've got our backup midfielders from Tunisia running in and basically making sure that they can fix that. So we've got a lot of these issues that we're facing with our team and our build-up, and these are the problems that sort of plagued us in tremendous bundles, Talu.
So when I talk about what our game plan is and that switch up of the coach, he had no. Are you telling me he had no time to make these plays possible?
And here's my suspicion, because Beston Chambeshi has shown that he has some level of technical understanding. My suspicion is they started to roll out these techniques because they got a few positive responses when they had a full quota of teams. They started trying these tactics out to the boys, but the boys didn't have time to adjust to it. The boys didn't have time. So what it looked like to me watching that first half was a team of guys that were trying to make the tactic work and were so overwhelmed with trying to stick to the formation they forgot to play football.
Oh my word.
So we didn't have the football intelligence of knowing, to be the awareness of knowing, oh, we've got a man behind me, I should sort of stick close and still maintain my position in this lineup. Oh, this guy has come in, I need a quick communication with the guy behind me, pick this guy up because I need to leave my formation and I need to go. So we didn't have that kind of coordination, and for me I put that down to a lack of practice. Lack of practice in the sense that the team hasn't had enough time to sit down to perfect these techniques. The team hasn't had enough time to sit down and perfect these tactics. To his credit, Beston Chambeshi changes things up in the second half. We're no longer conceding goals. He tightens it up. and we have a push all the way coming to the front. We even get our goal. It was a penalty. Patsondaka was dropped. Fashion Sakala missed the first kick, but managed to score the conversion.
Oh, thank God for that one.
Thank God for that one, Talu.
Listen, the situation is what it is. I want you to grab your chair as
thank
I
you
allow
very
you
much.
to sit down. But it's a matter. It's a situation about time. Everything is just borderlining around time, and enough time for practice, enough time for the team to remember the tactics and to remember the plays. And we didn't have that time. And I'll come back to the same conversation. One, are we now blaming the Faz for taking out Mitchell?
This is and this for me. This is now
Mitchell
the order of
is not my favorite person.
No, neither is mine.
I'm not about that Mitchell life. But he was there, and he had started a strategy.
Yes.
And thanks to all those friendlies, and of course Kasafa, there was something going on.
There was a build up in the game. Yes.
So they're trying to understand his tactics and his ways of the game and gameplay and everything. And then he went off. Do you think we can possibly say, look, Faz, I know Mitchell messed up. You spent so much money on those international friendlies, and still it didn't. I mean, we lost to Sudan, we lost to Senegal, we lost to Benin. We lost to everyone, didn't we?
It was bad. We had such a terrible losing streak. We lost to Eswatini, we lost to Lesotho, teams that barely have as deep a football team as us. But you're absolutely right, Talo. Questions need to be asked, especially starting with the organization themselves. To make a big decision to change your entire technical bench just days before a major qualifier, especially on the back. On the back of us failing to qualify for the Africa Cup repetitively, was a bit of a big bite to chew. I think it was a very big risk, and it has not paid off. So whoever's idea that risk was needs to come and take responsibility for the choice.
Okay, now, but as we wind up for the next segment, I have to ask, do you think maybe they were leaning towards the fact that it's best on Chambeshi, we're going to get best in, and he already knows them, so he will simply just, you know what, guys, remember me? Here's my tactic. Remember we did this play? Let's do that one again. Do you think they leaned so much on that idea?
There was a lot of dependence on him, yes, because they had worked with him and he was doing well, fairly, relatively, even in the local league. So there was some sort of confidence that he could actually turn things around. To Beston's credit, I think him as a coach for Zambia was actually a good choice, especially considering the kinds of developments and inspiration that he can bring to the young players. My issue is just questioning the timing. I think the timing was suspect. I think it set up everybody to fail. I think it set up the players to fail. I think it set up the player selections to fail. I think it set up the coach to fail, because those are very difficult conditions to pull together a team to perform that well, especially having been yanked having the rug yanked under them from that close range.
Well, I think I suggest we take a water break. We'll be back on the other side to discuss further what's going on with our football situation in the country. Welcome back. This conversation is still around us trying to analyze and assess what happened with our Zambia Chipolopolo team and them not qualifying for the Qatar 2022 FIFA World Cup. It's heartbreaking, but we have to be realistic. We want what's best for the team. Now, I have to remind you, if you want to take part in this conversation, the number to call is 0961 415 028. 0961 415 028. If you cannot call, there is always Facebook comment section where you can leave us your comments. Let me read a few comments, actually. There are about 2 comments here. What was your prediction, Cassandra, for the Tunisia-Zambia match?
I actually saw that comment earlier. I think it was coming from a young man named Benecho. Interesting question. Ironically, I actually predicted that we might not do as well against Tunisia, simply because if you remember last time when we predicted that Zambia was going to dominate Mauritania, they were inexperienced. Even though we had holes in the back, they did not have the quality to punish us for it. Tunisia, we're not going to make that mistake. Tunisia are much more accomplished in their attacking systems, Talu. They knew exactly how to press us, and they came for our defense.
There. We do have a caller. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Do us a favor, please turn off or mute your TV.
Okay.
All right, your name and where you're calling us from this evening.
This is Renato, and I'm calling from SOS.
All right, please go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, I have a general contribution. So basically what I'm going to say is I think if we're going to look at the performance between Zambia and Tunisia, honestly, as a Zambian supporter, I'm really disappointed with the fact that we lost the match. However, at the same time, I am happy because I think a general perspective of where improvement is required in terms of Zambian football, I think, was observed from that match and the match and the previous matches that we had. So, for example, I'll talk about the strikers. I think there's great improvement in terms of striking when we look at the Zambian national team. However, we have a problem in the midfield. Okay, are you still there?
Yeah, following. Go ahead.
Okay, and I think because if you look at the midfield that started the match, I think there was a lot of disorganization in the midfield of our team, and therefore I could observe change the time when they introduced Queens Kangwa. I think
as a
football fan, a lot of difference was observed when Queens Kangwa came in the match, and a lot of improvement. Zambia showed as if they had the game in possession from the time Queens Kangwa came in. So I think it's not an issue of the team being bad, but however, I think it's an issue of the team being given enough time to play together before they can play another team. For example, I'll give an example of the under-20 that we had. So the likes of Patson Daka, Enoch Mwepu, Emmanuel Banda, Solomon Sakala, Emmanuel Banda, and the like. Before they went on to the World Cup, they went overseas where they had what can I call it? A get-together, whereby the team had to play together for about a month before the tournament began. Which I think is a system that we need in Zambia, because every time we play a tournament, a competitive tournament, whether be it Africa Cup, be it CHAN, you find that in each game there is always an introduction of different players from different teams. It's not the same squad that plays the game.
Very true.
So that brings in a lot of disorganization from our side because the players do not understand each other. They can't coordinate properly.
There's no sync.
That's why we are having a lot of problems, especially in the midfield. So I think the best is we have observed where the problem is. So let the players be given a chance or an opportunity to play together, like for the next competitive tournament that we are going to have again.
All right. Thank you so much for that contribution.
I think I'm going to end there for today. I'll comment in the comment section. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. Well said.
I'd just like to jump off that caller's interaction. Actually, he raises some very interesting points. There was no time for camping and gelling, and I think it underscores a lot of the things that we were discussing in the show. I like how he brought out the fact that Klings Kangwa changed things in the second half. That was the responsiveness. I would like to credit that to the coach. The coach recognized we had a problem in our structure. There was a lot of lack of confidence, and he made some changes to bring that confidence back to the midfield. So kudos to him. So it does tell us, like I mentioned earlier, that I think it's an issue of time. With issue of time and the time.
But let's be realistic also. When Zambia is not the only team that has foreign-based players.
It's true. It's very true.
So everybody else has an issue of time.
Everybody does have that issue.
So what happens then? How do we maneuver around that problem? If we're going to use time and say time is a problem, we don't have time for our players to coordinate properly, to sync properly, to and flow together because they don't practice together a lot. How do we navigate that problem?
And for me, this is where now administration comes in, because administration is the biggest issue here. If you ask me, Talo, the biggest thing I would point out is someone needs to have these issues in mind. Someone needs to have this longevity planning in mind, and we need someone to step up from an administrative perspective and give feedback and help us understand the decision making.
We do have another caller. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, madam.
Good evening. You're live on Spring TV's Off the Bench. Your name and where you're calling us from?
Yes, madam.
Landeni Mkwai.
Landeni Mkwai.
Kumpatamato shua. Ishna liyanu shukuluandi.
Hello.
Nati ishina liyanu Mkwai.
Leo mulenga Addington.
Okay, bamulenga. Ndweni tuwebe nko mleto ntonka nyapali bodi.
Kwenda nsumulera ndakubile umkwika. Namba kena inena ndipo kwenu.
Mkwai.
Aha. Tetu upange timu yaba ikipe beka mushiraka bwete experience. Ushiba ya abate bola pa 2012. Bo alifwana ngwepo bana ngwate ya kwisa. Niste kugunge ama players muri bana bamwe bwete experience. Ba kwisa waba ije.
Chikankala idipsho dikankala Mkwai.
Tetu mubule abantu bafite experience bega umwafizi umwafizi kange timu awe
pyamfika Mkwai
ero timu bicho tezeba ni mwe na Zambia
Mkwai
awo ba okay bayikwata ba kote ba mu Zambia aba kwata ka patrula mwamfwa
Mkwai
Triumpha
pakusalama players balama players abakwete experience babule wale ukwati umuyota apange ishinana yena ukajikaje tiruwa that's why ama expatriates yani coaches
abata babeshiba Mkwai aho twamfa Mkwai
akope ne babelele problem no mwali uwe ushekala balifwa
Hawe Mkwai.
Epwaba kalaba.
Epwaba.
So muti balabe dile timu lilia mukakule mu players kada bwete experience.
Mkwai.
Kina to telefona pera ko.
Twatasha kupata mato ko twatasha.
Mkwai.
You know what? To be honest,
he's got some very valid points. Experience.
A lot of people talked about that. Why are we letting go of the older players? Other people said maybe it's time they need to rest. There was the Kennedy Mwene situation the last game.
Because we played an inexperienced goalkeeper.
I mean, you know.
Big questions.
Yeah, as we are going to talk about, as we move on to talk about some of the African teams we'll be expecting, hopefully, to represent the continent. Let's think about that. Why were the older players not?
That's food for thought, Tyler. Food for thought. Food for thought.
Let's get into the predictions.
All right. So, switching things up, looking at well, since we can't represent the continent, we might as well speculate on who we think is going to make it through.
Who will we put our money on?
Well, I can tell you for one thing, I know it's not going to be Tunisia. Despite the fact that they beat us, this might be a bit of fun talking, but in all honesty, from an analysis perspective, they're not that coordinated a team either.
All right, let's see. Let's see if we can put on the screen the teams and who's going to be. All right, let's see. Plot one, the plot in, ladies and gentlemen: Algeria, Tunisia, Nigeria, Cameroon, Mali. So Tunisia, according to Mr. Kasanda over here, is out.
I think, for me, I think they're free players, Talo. I think this is a free qualification to the World Cup for whoever gets Tunisia. I think they're going to have a very easy time getting through Tunisia.
All right, so Algeria, what do you think?
Algeria has been very strong. If anything, Algeria has been the strongest team showing up at the qualifiers this year. I expect that they're going to do damage to whoever they meet. No one can stop these guys from showing up. I really don't see
just a reminder, we only have 5 slots.
Yes, we only have 5 slots from Africa.
Exactly. So Algeria is already there, Tunisia out. Nigeria
does have a chance. Now, Nigeria are notorious for pulling rabbits out of the bag. They've got the international players to carry them all the way. They can field a full international team if they mean to. It just depends on what side they wake up on. The Nigerian FA also has its own plethora of reasons that cause.
So should I put Nigeria on the top 5 teams that might possibly represent the continent or not? I'm putting Nigeria.
Let's give Nigeria a spot. I think Nigeria actually makes
We're remaining with 3 spots. We have Cameroon, Mali. You know what? Give us plot 2. Maybe we're focused too much. Plot 2, Egypt.
100% the favorites by far.
Mo
Salah is definitely taking his country forward. Plus, as a team, they look very solid. That experience definitely plays a strong part.
DRC Congo.
Congo was the most painful qualifier for this top 10, if you ask me. I don't understand how Congo can qualify, but Zambia can't. But that's just the fun in me. Last week we talked about, yes, it pains here. It's still paining, but credit to Congo where it's deserved. They did play a very strong group, a very strong qualifying run, and they deserve to be where they are. I think Congo is too much of a 50-50 to predict, and so I'm not 100% convinced that Congo might actually make the final playoff. So I would decline to put Congo in those top spots, but I would be interested in looking at Senegal. Senegal are one of those bogey teams. They've always done that for Africa. They don't look like they've got it together, and they somehow always pull the results that they need to pull.
So Senegal makes it to the top 5 teams that might possibly represent the continent. The last spots.
My last spot has to go to Morocco.
Morocco?
That's my expectation. I think Morocco's going to take it. I'm not sure about Ghana.
So there was a Ghana-South Africa situation. I think there's
still currently a South Africa, which, by the way, makes me envious as a Zambia fan, because technically we should also be in a situation. But anyway, we'll get to that one later.
All right, so you're saying Morocco. So, ladies and gentlemen, today for our predictions, we predict that Algeria, Nigeria, Egypt, Senegal, and Morocco could possibly represent the African continent at the World Cup. But it's just us. They still have to do the face-offs.
Yes, please. They still have to sort them out. At this point, we don't even know who's going to play who. So it's absolutely a toss-up. We could have Algeria versus Nigeria, and we guarantee that one of those is
that would be painful.
But if you ask me, these are the teams that should be deserving of a spot in the finals.
You know what hurts me the most is that we ran out of time.
Oh, you don't say.
Is there nobody who wants to give us that one last call before we say goodnight and goodbye? Please, somebody call us. The number to call is 096-1415-028. You never know what you just might walk away with tonight. You never know. But quickly, as we leave, VAR, your thoughts?
My thoughts on VAR are it's always positive. And I think this is the problem with change. People are always skeptical.
We don't have money, Cassandra.
Unfortunately, we don't have the money, but if we can, I think it would be the best. I was laughing with some of my friend pundits. We were looking at a game that was played, I think, the weekend, and we had a goal line clearance. And the linesman raised the flag and he waved it a goal. The referee looked at the linesman and gave the goal. But every single person, including the striker, who took a long time to celebrate, was in doubt of whether that crossed the line. And so these are the reasons why we want VAR.
We have our last, I'm going to take our last caller right now. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, madam.
Your name and where you're calling us from?
Lombe calling you from Kawa.
From your name again?
Lombe from Kawa.
Nice, go ahead.
All right, from Kabwe. Did you say Kabwe? All right. All right, go ahead, contribute.
I just want to contribute about the Zambian game.
Sure.
Yeah, there's a saying in them, but
indeed, Chishinka.
There's no we can let of all those countries of Africa Cup winners group. So there's no we need at least we mix up things.
Yes.
Very true.
Right.
Because experience you have Rotterdam Parks and Dhaka, and you can't compare the experience Kabena Kalau.
It's true.
So we can't compare them to our legends of the 2012.
Thank you so much. All the way from Kawe, we're having a hot night. Unfortunately, like I said, we've run out of time, so it's about that time I say good night. Thank you so much, Cassandra. You are always The man of the
Yes,
match, it
please.
is you. So are we having trivia next week?
We definitely need to have trivia. I think we have got a lot of people who are trying to redeem themselves after the last one. So I'll definitely be cooking up something very nice for our viewers at home.
You heard it for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. The trivia master himself says next week, catch some trivia. Hope you study. It might not be just about football, because next week also we're getting into the NBA's. Basketball lovers, we have something for you. Steph Curry is doing the most. But we're out of time. We have to say goodbye. We hope you enjoyed the show. Have a good night. See you next week.